Ike's kind of just rolled with Vici's momentum. We'll get to see it again.
And despite the fact that we have not seen Cube play it right, it is still a potential flex, so we always got to keep that in mind. And we talked about how it is the highest priority jungler here in the LPL right now. Actually, it's just the second highest priority champion overall after the Aphelios. So if Aphelios is banned, you could typically expect the bear to be taken away.
Well, set being looked at here for DMO. Bit of engage built up already.
Yeah, and going to be interesting because we've actually only seen it pick up in the support position. We have not seen either Xiaopeng or Chalitza kind of maneuver this champion. We've talked many times how Set is very similar to Volibear in the jungle, to where, again, you're an early game bruiser, you're very strong dueling, you have very strong like dive potential in side lanes. So if they do go that jungle route, going to have a bit of a kind of a mirrored matchup.
Huh. Center this early on instead of picking up a jungler. Now,
well, right, so the set is a flex, so
yeah.
they does seem they want to at least keep that true.
True.
Now for Vici, I mean, we've talked about how the Kalista is their go-to pick typically. We also have seen iBoy branch out a bit on the Ashe, but that's pretty much it for him. He plays Aphelios, plays Kalista, plays Ashe. Anything, the other three champions he's played are Kai'Sa, MF, and Ezreal, and that's one time on the Ezreal respectively, and then 2 on the Kai'Sa. So just going to go back to comfort.
Game number 11 here. Now he's most played champion.
Yeah.
Played Kalista in the LPL at this point.
I also love how they always make it work, and it is a champion that I actually like that they flashed to Draven, because Kalista now kind of reminds me of Draven, and the fact that like you and yourself are just so strong with that Hail of Blades build that you do just come out ahead in a lot of matchups where typically other AD carries, it really depends on their support.
When you get off rolling, it's pretty hard to get to be stopped. As Syndra this time around will be picked up DMO a little bit later, so we're going to see Twilight on that champion again.
Yeah, and I think this time, ban out the Akali, ban out the LeBlanc, but then I think he's just going to go back towards that Echo. I wonder if they'll switch it up by banning... Oh, actually, the LeBlanc's already banned, so it's actually perfect this time around. They ban out the Echo, and, I mean, not too many good options to go into the Syndra, as we've talked about many times before.
What about his Ziggs? That's kind of a nothing lane, isn't it?
It's also would be very weird when you have, like, your 3-man core very much wants to go in, and then you randomly take a Ziggs and are kind of like, okay, guys, I'm going to stand way back here. You have a good time up there.
That's why I'm not drafting. Feels good. All right. Bard already taken away by Vici. 15 seconds.
There are some interesting options that Vici would have, like the Orianna, which is pretty much a stalemate. Obviously, Syndra has pressure early, but you have good ball setups since you have the Kalista in your composition, as well as 2 other engaged champions. The other one, as we mentioned in the first game, was the Zoe, which would pair very well with Volibear and set up this strong mid-jungle 2v2 and give you a lot of control over River. And now DMO going to have to break the flex for something. I think it kind of makes sense to pick up a top laner here, because the flex for set is much stronger between support and jungle rather than top lane. And I mean, we do have a lot of champions that, you know, want to jump in, so going to be able to shut down those potential things like the Nautilus.
I was going to say, instead of this, could Cube just do on?
I mean, it would just be a bit of a wash. Would be interesting. I'd actually be fine with them going the Ornn once again, too, actually. The fact that you have such low mobility, the long-range Call of the Forge God would just come in clutch. But this, of course, is Cube's most comfortable, most played champion by far.
Yep.
I mean, heck, another option you could have even looked at was, you know, you mentioned the Kennen earlier, but, oh well, he locks in the Renekton. Renekton is a favorite here in the LPL, so at least going to have some pressure in topside to play around. Now for me, it's where does Zika go? I've already highlighted some of the options, right? We talked about the Orianna. We've talked about the Zoe as well. Their comp is definitely way more focused on early mid-game, so that makes a lot more sense to me.
Yeah, I'd be surprised if we saw the Aurelion Sol. Even though Zika does have a bit of a diverse champion pool. What goes towards support / top?
Or jungle, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, this one's a bit of an interesting one. Is this a Poppy jungle?
Is this Kongyue in the LPL?
Well,
Xiaopeng?
Yes. Yes, it is. Okay, we have Poppy jungle.
Or Poppy support and set jungle.
True. You're right. Actually, we have a lot of options. We're going to wait and we're going to see. We'll talk about Vici's comp for now, because, again, we already hit on some of the things, keywords being like early and mid-game. Renekton obviously going to have a good time up in top side. Going to be a bit rougher up against the Kennen, but especially at the level 6 point, you're going to have a very strong top jungle 2v2.
Because Poppy here against Kalista, as a Kalista, you're like, holy moly, I can't auto-attack. That's the beauty of it, right?
It's going to be raw. I mean, again, even the Nautilus, even things like the Slice and Dice on the Renekton,
Yeah.
so you do have a lot of power. The thing that's always surprising me about Poppy is her clear speed actually isn't all that bad. It's not like down there like a lot of bruiser champions you would expect. She does relatively well in the jungle role. I want to see what rune he takes, because obviously we've had things like Predator in the past, I think is the most common one.
What else would you do?
That's a good question.
You wouldn't pull Grasp in the jungle, would you?
I mean, with the fact that everyone is running Phase Rush on absolutely everything right now,
Yeah.
I mean, who knows? But obviously, again, Predator is the one we've seen.
Auto with the Buckler EQ. Just for context, the easiest way to probably get it.
Poppy also isn't a champion that's really going to be very abusable in these 1v1s by the Volley Bear. Like, I would still expect Volley to win, but Poppy, obviously very tanky champion, just going to be able to ignore the volley and get away.
I'm going to ask you a really complex question. Do you think Ike's ult is stopped by Steadfast Presence of Poppy W? Because it's unstoppable, isn't it?
My guess is no. I'm pretty sure, yeah. Pretty sure it's unstoppable. That would make sense if it could be.
Because Malphite can ult through W. There's DMO day. Okay. Well, let's go on to the Rift. Game 2, and DMO got stomped in Game 1 in under 23 minutes. The question is if they can pull this back. Can Vici get a much-needed win? Much-needed, must-needed, either one. So we go to Ike, who's just dancing on the Rift.
Ooh, and we actually have Hail of Blades, Poppy.
We
so
do.
It's actually, he's going to want some of these early skirmishes and early ganks. That's going to be, again, so once again, getting to see something new here today in the jungle role. Going to be as much of a learning experience for us as it is the audience.
So how does this interact? Have we got a strong 2 versus 2 through mid now because of Poppy or not? Feels like Vici's 2 versus 2 is still.
This is kind of a confusing, like the Colonel of the team's names twice.
Yeah, he's
but
not sure.
Did favor the blue side, so.
What am I looking towards
overall, here? Other runes obviously very standard, but so again, when I look at these comps, I'd still say Vici's side needs to be more proactive. So we'll start with them, right? Like we said, hey, they have a pretty strong top jungle 2v2, especially at the level 6 mark. Once like things like Dominus come and play, Renekton obviously is the type of champion who needs all ins against the cannon, as he's looking for right now. We'll have that strong level 1, but good trades coming out from Chalitza on the back end. And then, to me, it's going to be a lot about playing around your bottom lane, especially around the, that first item power split. We talked about the Kalista with the Blade of the Rune King looking for these bot lane skirmishes. The interesting thing to me is going to be how this mid lane matchup goes, right? Because we've said before, it is a slightly Syndra-favored matchup just because of the inherent threat you can have even just by holding the Scatter of the Week, to where a lot of Zoe's threat comes in from the Sleepy Trouble Bubbles, which feel pretty easy to maneuver around for a Syndra. But at least Zika will have the early wave clear early on, just from what you've seen of Zoe, right? You throw the Paddle Star back at level 1, you can clear those backline minions very easy. So it's going to be about kind of how we can bring this Zoe pressure on the map early on, and especially play around this Kalista pick for these massive Dragon team fights.
And for Vici, obviously we'll be looking towards Poppy here just because we haven't seen Poppy jungle for a while. Mad Team, someone to pick it out back in your region, as Hail of Blade's now going to be tested. Ike's is going in with the Sky Splitter that hits in the end, forcing Xiaopeng away. And red buff, if it resets here, could be great for Xiaopeng, but it should be smited away. Ike's doesn't have it available, just autos it. Well, down
Ike's
it goes.
Finding a big advantage already and having both pushing side lanes so far.
Sky Splitter once again, the threat. Xiaopeng goes back towards his bottom side, but there's nothing there. Bar the Scuttle.
And good read coming from Vici overall, right? We already talked about how Zoe's going to have that push, especially from level 1. Good job from Cube to set up the fact that he'd have push by looking for that early all-in on Chalitza and giving Ike's the opportunity to go for that invade.
So can we come back to DMO quickly?
Yes.
Because if you're talking about Vici being proactive, I just want to know how DMO can potentially, scale this out?
So, for me, when I see DMO's comp, right, we always talk about this with Senna, that when you draft Senna, it really is about having those strong soul laners and playing around.
Sorry.
Okay.
I know, I want to know so much, but Flash being burned here is not good for Xiaopeng. The Flash and heal from Zika. Wow. They wanted that kill and they got it.
And I mean, this is what you want to see from Zika, right? One of the great things about Zoe is the control.
Xiaopeng has Alt F4. No, in seriousness, we're in a pause. I'm sorry.
Right. One of the great things about Zoe is the control you have over River because of all the ways you can use your terrain with your Sleepy Trouble Bubble or even just kind of popping in with an unexpected Paddle Star. So great to see him with that early start. But let's go back to DMO because that's what you keep asking about, right?
Yeah.
When I look at DMO's comp, when you see Senna, it already screams to me, hey, like, let's kind of play more around our soul laners, especially if we can get that Syndra going. This matchup in mid lane is very... you know, very fragile. If it could break one way, it could break that way extremely hard. So if, especially at level 6, we could see the Dawning Shadows come out and try to set up some kind of kill on Zika would be massive. But for me, once we get to the late game point, the thing that is nice is the fact that, okay, Vici's comp definitely wants to come in, right? We have a Callisto, we have a Renekton, we have a Nautilus, all these things want to jump forward. You have the kite back shielding, it's the same coming from the Senna. You have the Poppy you've already mentioned, whether it's her W or ultimate, being able to keep bows at bay. You have Chalitza, who can even play more of this zoning Kennen that, hey, if you come in, I pop the ultimate, we're going to win this fight. So you have a lot of ways to deal with Vici's engage. Then you even have potential flank opportunities with Chalitza coming in with, you know, great slicing Maelstrom on the back end, while just Yui and Xiaopeng serve as that kind of peeling presence for the other two carries.
The barrier.
Exactly. So I feel like if this game goes later, Demo's comp does have some pretty nice ways to play out the game. Poppy's just always such a strong champion in, you know, like a 5v5 scenario because of all the peel that you offer.
True. The ability to separate the fight, right? It's never going to be true 5v5 when Poppy sends 1 to 5 members back. Ideally, you don't want all 5, but... You talked about Vici wanting to start this ball rolling onto Chalitza, who doesn't have ult. This could be a reality. Ike's under turret, Sky Splitter down. He flashes away, but Cube dices him through. And that's hairy meats here for Vici after this early game. DMO going to trade with the Dragon, but they're already down by almost 2,000 gold.
I mean, we looked at it, right? We saw Renekton, we saw Volibear. We knew that this was going to be a play towards the top side. Great dive coming out from them. Zika's no summoners.
Ready for the drop ball. He burnt them all before. Tangle doesn't connect, though. Drop ball must not be available. Heroic charge with a flash. Zika caught out. And he'll go down DMO with a trade.
And let's remember that Zika had no reason to even look for that play, right? They chosen to make a play on the top side. The Dragon was already going to go down for sure. You were just kind of gambling for a miracle, weren't able to find it, and just giving extra gold over to the side of DMO.
An issue that we saw versus EDG and OMG is sometimes Vici not on the same page. Shilling Smite going to come through. Steadfast Presence and Scatter the Weak dodged away from. Zika comes back and Ike's picks up the kill. Maestro even roams to pull him in. Twyla has flash. Dredgeline though connects. Now Zika over. Paddlestar won't connect. Twyla does get out, but another kill over to Vici. And just when DMO get a reprieve, Vici get another.
Yeah, overall great play coming out from Vici so far. So finding this early game lead that we want to see from them. And I mean, another interesting thing about Poppy is not even just how she can zone in team fights, but even I think it's the passive on her W where you get 10% total armor and MR, you know, just inherently. So also doubled if you're below 40% HP. So she's just one of our tankier champions in the game overall. It's going to be hard to deal with. And though we've seen Vici do a great job at response, and even now seeing Cube control the Scuttle Crab, so continuously taking resources off the map from DMO.
Do you remember Kong Yue?
Yeah.
From Mad Team?
Yep. From Mad Team. I'm pretty sure, I think right now he's on HQ. Even guessing feels as wrong, but yeah. I do remember him. I remember him coming into the scene back in the day. I'm sure our main man Clement Chu does as well. Shout out to Bummer 2000 out there.
This leads me to a question of, well, maybe pause.
Ike's going for it. He does have the ultimate, so obviously could go for this turret dive quite easily.
And now with Slicing Maelstrom down, turret going to be disabled. Cube takes the ult, but actually the center ult doesn't connect. And Cube gets his second kill. Now meanwhile, bot iBoy kites that away, and Yui just takes a bad trade in the end.
And this is the thing that's kind of awkward because we set up, hey, DMO want to play around their soul lanes, but top lane's a bit awkward when you don't have any, like, real...
Speak of awkward, Zika's just walking into Xiaopeng, but it's because Ike's is on the way. Sky Splitter coming down, the damage immense. Ike's with his second kill as well. Cube and Ike's got getting closer thanks to Scatter the Weak, but again, 3K gold lead at 8 minutes in the game, and DMO looking scarce.
And Vici doing a great job of transferring their pressure from top to mid, right? They already got the kill, so Cube is unlocked to follow. Zika kind of baiting that one out, and they pick up another kill. But going back to the earlier point, that, like, looking top is quite hard. You don't have any, like, hard CC to lock down cube. Sure, you have, you know, the cannon passive, but at the same time, that's very hard to guarantee. And then you'd have to try to lock that up into some kind of, like, wall stun from Xiaopeng. And then, you know, you have the Dawning Shadows to follow up. So that's... right, it feels way too conditional. And then you look at mid, it's like you need a good scatter of the week to come out to then set up for the Poppy knockup from Ultimate, and then all the bursts coming out from Twyla. So you set up for this comp that, at least early on, its only opportunities are really through soul lanes, but it's very hard to execute. So we're definitely looking way more about the 5v5s in front of Dragon, in front of Rift Herald. But if you're going to be down, you know, 4K gold, it's not even going to matter.
Yeah, the opportunities aren't going to be there because you're going to get bursted before you get in position.
And you're not even going to find the top, like the windows, because Vici are using their pushing lanes so well.
Boy by himself versus 2 into the wall with the showstopper. The haymaker as well sends on out. Damage available, but Yui takes the last shot, and that's not what you want from the bottom lane while Ike gets Herald top.
This is just falling apart everywhere, honestly. This is falling apart everywhere except the mid lane.
DMO day, sir.
Yeah, this is
it's not their day.
This is not their day.
Pick another. Pick another down the line.
I wish their day was when they beat EEG. That should have been their day.
Max is coming mid. He has flash again with the chilling smite slowed down. Sky Splitter damage. Ignite. Zika picks up his second kill. Xiaopeng is late to the party. We're sitting at 7-1 again, and the next Dragon's coming up. DMO picked up the first one, but nice. Spin. And stop. Well, 10-second cooldown. We'll see if he gets it again. Redemption comes down. Maestro's going to roam.
They have Herald, so they should be able to get this one.
Xiaopeng's 1 and 3. Needs steadfast presence. Pops it, but Herald, you said, should get it.
I mean, now they're just going to transition to for a very easy Dragon take.
Easy, the keyword.
I mean, if they had a stacked wave on bot, they could even just look to dive Schubin at this point. Nope, no stacked waves, so probably just going to turn for the Dragon.
I was going to ask you if we're going to see an Iceborne Gauntlet first here on Xiaopeng, but I don't think that's relevant anymore.
If you're going to ask me what items we're going to see on this Poppy jungle, sir, I have no idea. Zero. I am sadly not the Poppy jungle expert.
But we're not going to see anything, are we?
No.
No. See? You're right all along. You don't need to expect anything because nothing's going to come through. Dragon going down. Cloud Rift. Well, whatever. And Vici, just like we want to go home early tonight. We're thinking, do we get a hot pot? Get some nice Chengdu food?
Wait, who's thinking this?
This is Vici.
Okay, I thought you
thinking about
meal. I thought it was a DMO.
Oh, no, well, DMO might have to start thinking about food because you gotta think positive after this game, and that's probably the only way you know how. As Ike spotted on a ward, Twyla knows he's coming around. This Volibear has had a great early game.
And Ike's has done a great job of playing around his soul lane pressures, constantly invading the enemy jungle, setting up all those dives topside. We saw him hovering mid constantly as well. Like, this man has been all around the map, and this goes back to our earlier discussion where you asked me, who do I prefer, Ike's or Lilian? I told you Ike's, and I feel like, sure, it's against DMO, but this series definitely showed why. He's a much more versatile player to me than Lilian. And, I mean, we're just going to see a pretty clean sweep over DMO today.
If this continues at the very least, confidence in Vici as, okay, blue buff. We've actually stolen. This, yeah, Ike's just dancing on him. Oh, yeah. Now drop. Okay. Well, Ike's picking up blue. Bit of a walk in the park, I'd say.
Did he pick it up?
He's got blue. I mean, he started dancing. Why else do you dance?
I just kind of assumed he already had this blue.
Have it.
He didn't smite.
No, he didn't. Maybe Sky Splitter is. Could have been him as well. Ike's still at half health. Teleport being used. Channeling in with the Stormbringer, and Schubin's ult does a bit of work. Xiaopeng rolls in. He's stopped, though. And Ike starts bear rolling out as heroic charge against the wall, but Cube doesn't care. He spins and wins. Vici now 8-1 with iBoy under turret and turret plating all available. This is going to be the quickest series in summer, I believe. And it's from Vici.
Yes, it is.
So, I mean, a very good sign.
Yeah, right? The most decisive, even if it is against the worst team in the league right now, the most decisive win against the worst team is still, I'd say, a pretty good sign. We see Ike's trying to go in aggressively with his ultimate. Maestro flashing over the wall, giving us those big alpha plays that we expect out of Maestro at this point. But guess what? Zeke is here, Cube's here, even Callista's here on the other side of the wall, so very easy for them to finish Xiaopeng off. And Ike's able to get away to some safety thanks to his teammates.
course, that's what pros are for. Yeah, he picked up blue because Swallow doesn't have it.
Yep.
So,
Yes, he did.
6k gold lead at 14 minutes in the game. And you can't make those as iBoy walking in. Here we go. Yui's on his way as well. He only has the Hex Flash. The Face Breaker means iBoy's dead. And bottom lane doing some good work for DMO.
That was the definition of, like, complacency. Like, kind of laziness in a way as well, right? You're kind of like, well, I'm winning 5k gold. We're 8-2. I'm just going to walk through this path, not really going to think, going to autopilot.
They're diving this again, but there's no ulti, but the Sky Splitter coming down once more. The shielding's just so great from it. Dominus and Cube at 4 kills. Turret's going to drop here as well, and that's the 3rd death for Cube. Sorry, for Chalitza. Used to seeing Cube on the cannon.
And it's great to see. I mean, this is one of the, like, strengths of the Renekton against the Kennen, right? Sure, Kennen might, especially in an isolated, elongated laning phase, Kennen might be able to try to find the windows and win out with the range, but when you have this AoE bruiser with such strong ratios, has to set up in his W, you want to see jungle intervention in that lane. And Vici set it up, Vici executed.
And Ix is taking everything.
Yes.
He's now rolled ahead by about 15 CS. Those kills, those assists, his solo lanes are massive. iBoy's the only person who we question after the last play, but even then, again, you can be complacent because, yeah, you are that far ahead. Blue buff for you. Dragon coming up for you. 3 clouds on the horizon, but if we get past 2, I would be very surprised.
Me too, but at this point, right, so the only outer turret left open is bot side, so now it's going to be about Vici transferring their pressure around the map. But I guess with Herald coming up, it does look like Vici are going to switch over to moving Cube to the bottom half of the map. Dragon also up in 30 seconds, so, I mean, this team fight right here can be massive, right? We can get a team fight where Vici take a fight, Vici get Dragon, Vici get a Herald, and then the map's theirs for the taking.
Yep. Running it down mid in a very positive way. Shubin, somewhere he shouldn't be.
And the thing is, even if DMO execute this well, if DMO finds some kind of massive flank with, let's say, like Chalitza or Yui, I still don't think they have the damage to take down Zico. Even if they take down Zico Arboy, I think Ix and Cube are massive at this point.
Yeah, at least one person will carry the rest of the fight. They're collapsing on in versus 2. That's a good cannon ulti. Now Zika is down, but you talked about Ix. There's the damage follow-up. They're targeting iBoy through with the Haymaker and the Ignite. 2 down for Vici as Ix is by himself. Cube and Maestro are separated. And you know what? Somehow, Ix on the wrong side of the rift. And Vici going to lose the fight.
I feel like separated is the perfect word there, right? Because even had we seen Ix with Cube and Maestro and them try to take what would be a 3v4, I still think they would come out ahead. But point is, DMO did separate them. Yui coming out with a massive ultimate. They pick off Zika right away. iBoy then left on an awkward side of the fight. And it then looks like there was a difference in either communication or opinion where we see Ix go forward, we see Cube go back. And hey, I mean, DMO actually keeping the game alive is quite surprising.
Somehow. We'll watch it again because it was the blast cone over that just collapsed.
Yep, and they find this massive ult onto numerous members of the side of Vici. And now we see iBoy kept on our opposite side. But look, Ix going forward while Maestro and Cube on our mini-map go back. So now Ix is left in a very awkward position, and, you know, he, of course, ends up going down too.
Now, I don't want to say anything, but it was the OMG series I recently cast in Game 2 where Vici, it wasn't this much of a lead, but it was a definitive lead where in front of Dragon, it was thrown away. So, Riptel's going to be going over, but this is why my skepticism is very much validated.
And I really subscribe to, you know, the philosophy that I feel like I've heard numerous times before from some other coaches and people in the scene as well that, you know, it's better to be decisive than to be smart.
Yeah.
And I even feel like in that situation, like, had the team been more on the same page, again, it could have worked out overall, but...
No, neither.
Point is, Vici does have some moments like this where, you know, they do make a bit of a misstep. Maybe they don't get the correct setup that they need. Maybe they aren't all on the same call that, you know, they should be following. Obviously, it's the best if you could be, you know, smart and decisive, but
yeah,
we don't live in a perfect world.
Like V5, right?
Exactly.
Not everyone can be V5.
Not everyone's V5 in Rogue Warriors.
That's true. Dude, especially Rogue
Actually,
Warriors.
no one is V5 or Rogue Warriors except themselves.
Gosh, what a good point you make. Maestro
Hey.
in the exact same position, right?
We see this before.
Hey, yeah, we have.
Shout out to Spring where Maestro solo killed Junja. I think it was Nautilus against Gragas.
It was.
It was amazing.
As a support at level 4.
and then after that series got benched for like months.
Because you know why? That Coma's like, we're going to leave that legacy there for you, son, and we'll see you in summer.
The ultimate bait and switch.
That was like, you know what? We're going to give you a pay raise and bench you. That's where we want you to leave. And it'll get rid of all the skepticism of this support.
There's some LPL plays we will reference forever, along the lines of like the Janna Maokai solo kill and then Junja solo kill as well.
Oh, yeah.
So it will be immortalized.
The Xiao Wei, also known as Twyla Zillion triple kill with the bomb where he ran at... Was that EDG as well? I'm not sure. A lot happens to EDG in this league.
A lot does happen to EDG. Oh, God. EDG fans out there, my heart breaks with you.
Yep. They're
even the FPX series. God.
Oof.
I don't want to go down that rabbit hole, actually.
That was rough. Everything happens with ADG.
That's some pain that people don't need to relive.
A lot's changing in this league. Vici on the cusp of playoffs, but cusp being the key word. Now, in this game, there's still 5,000, 4,500 gold up. We're 20 minutes in. Baron's spawning, but the game is really slowed down. And if it's this dramatic throughout the next 10 minutes, you already talked about how, you know, we can see DMO kite back and zone into the late game. Well, that might happen now, but Yui is caught out a little bit walking forward, but he'll be fine, has a bit of health regen, plus Shubin beside him. Ike's channeling for a pick, but DMO have a bit more fight in them.
Yep, but now it's going to be about how Zoe can use these Sleepy Trouble Bubbles over the terrain. This is a position where Zoe really thrives in. Kind of unfortunately, Zika missed this first one.
They know he's here. Yapung still takes a lot of damage, and Red Buff given over.
Sleepy Trouble Bubble in action.
Now, Raquel through mid, they've got a pick. It's on the Shubin, who's just rotating to the turret. Yui's behind him. Everyone from DMO channeling onto Zika, but Ike's in the back line. Bait's call used as well, but zoned away from Chalitza. Zika still survives this long onto Twyla. Troll Bubble used, dodged away with the Ignite. He won't die in the end, but it was so close. And for the rest of DMO, a valiant effort, all things considered. The Maestro without mana, the flash here onto Cube. Just waiting. Yui going to get the face breaker. They turn onto this support. They do kill him, but Yui will die as well.
I mean, I'm actually even surprised DMO's picking up any kills in these fights, so I'd say overall win for them. But guess what? You're facing an enemy team that has a Callista, so
Baron.
You are going to lose yourself some Mr. Baron Nasher.
That was cool from Zika, though.
Yes, it was. It was actually really close.
For a very long time.
Yeah. I actually thought he'd be able to get it. I thought with the paddle star connecting, it probably would have equaled more of Twyla's health, but sadly in the end didn't surmount to anything.
And as you mentioned, Baron going to be taken. Twyla on the edge. Shubin here as well. He's spot out by Ward. Ren secures. Scatter the Weak used on Ike's. But they've got Baron, and I believe they have it on, 5 members. I think Maestro spawned in time. So, again, another big moment for Vici to net a lead in this game.
Yeah, now it's going to be really rough for the side of DMO. I mean, especially with the members of Vici stacking so much MR as well. Chalitza and Twyla not going to be able to deal any damage. Definitely going to need some Void Staffs coming out pretty soon.
Ike's walking into the pit now, though. Doesn't have Stormbringer available, but just wants the Dragon for himself. Everyone flashes forward. Twyla at half and into the middle. Good face breaker here. Line down the middle. The ultimate from Chalitza, great as well. And Vici are low. Once again, pulled into the fight, and DMO on sole point.
And this is actually insane that DMO are down like 7,000 gold. DMO are down 7,000 gold and still being able to come out ahead in these fights from, poor execution from Vici, even just poor setup overall. And this is what we talked about with DMO's comp, that they thrive in these front-to-back situations. We see Ike's trying to go in, but Chalitza finding that massive ultimate like you talked about. Great Dawning Shadows coming out from the Senna. Ike's not able to do anything, and Zika was never even really in a position to deal damage over the terrain like we talked about.
Dude, Yui got a 4-man face breaker, and then everyone's in that line of Shubin's ulti. So, while DMO are playing well, Vici, it's deja vu. The same experience I went through versus OMG, although it's not the Akali, is kind of coming through again. But they do have Baron, and despite losing that fight, Zika survives and holds on to Baron for now.
Let's remember one more time, this is where Zoe thrives. Zoe thrives being able to sit in front of your turret while she is Baron, throwing out these paddle stars and Sleepy Trouble Bubbles over the wall. But Yui has been so active in looking for these flanks all game.
Now, Baron also on Ike's and Cube, and while you mentioned the flanks, no one's there to be hit upon. Vici just moved to the bottom lane with this Baron buff, and they'll get the inner turret.
Now I expect them to transition back to mid. We do see that Zika's building a wave there.
Trouble Bubble lands. Ike's is in as well. Trouble Bubble means that Palstar almost connects. Wave clear there. Ike's running in first. Once again, bubble onto Xiao Peng.
And I mean, this is a problem that we can see for Vici's comp right now, right? Is the fact that, sure, Zoe has the range to throw out all this burst, but the rest of your members aren't actually able to walk up and hit the turret. We're going to have Syndra, who has pretty good wave clear, and obviously a lot of long-range threats. Senna there right next to her. So breaking down the base is quite hard for Vici.
Right, if they can poke someone down, that'll be the trick. Facebreaker onto Maestro. He pulls in Yui. Once again, Death Charge on the backline onto Twyla. The ultimate from Ike's is going to be crucial here. Lines down by Shubin, but the Fate's call from Maestro to sacrifice his life. He takes a while to die, but that should net the inhibitor. Not the game yet, as there's still 3 of DMO alive.
Yeah, and still 8K gold lead for the side of Vici too, so I remember early on we talked about how for scaling we did favor DMO's comp overall, but it doesn't feel like we're at any close point to being like relevant with that discussion until, you know, maybe more like the 35, 40-minute mark where, let's say, like, items start to even out despite the gold difference. But here, we see Yui go in, he buys some time, but we do see Ike's jump in with a very nice ultimate. Chalitza tries to come in, only ends up stunning the Renekton, though, and also gets damage onto Ike's. Zika and iBoy were both left unfazed that whole fight, and even Q being able to jump onto Chalitza, very nice to see. And that's what happens, right? When we do get these fights where Zika can be involved, where Ike's can serve as his frontliner, just kind of soaking up all this damage, at this point in the game, Vici can definitely kill DMO's frontline way faster than DMO can kill Vici's.
For now.
For now.
Okay. Cloud Solve's coming up for DMO. If it was any other soul in the game, the DMO Lords and Saviors would be saying you're welcome. But the Dragon Soul not on their side today. But I will say, Poppy ult will feel good. And it's a cannon who's going to fly with this Slicing Maelstrom.
I mean, right, we have like numerous ways for DMO to try to lock down, like whether it's Ike's or multiple members of Vici. We can even see Yui coming in with the ultimate to get Ike's away from the pit and, you know, be able to secure that soul. But as you mentioned, I don't feel like that soul is at a point where it's really crucial. The thing that'll be interesting is, you know, opening up Elder for that next big play to where, hey, I mean, we've seen DMO come out ahead in some of these fights, or even come out even. And if they can secure that for themselves, I mean, then we're going to 3 games.
So maybe it's important for Vici to get the next Dragon so that Soul is not an opportunity.
Yeah, because at this point, right, I don't even feel like Vici need dragons or anything like that. Like, Vici is fine, even to just keep looking for picks, keep looking for structures. I think Vici at this point would really just prefer Baron to keep going with those sieges and setting up for Zika to be a massive threat. So staying away and keeping DMO away from Dragon Pit would be a massive win.
Okay.
But obviously, you don't get to control what DMO do.
No, you don't.
DMO are going to do what they want.
It's DMO
It's
day.
DMO day. Yeah, exactly. You think you control DMO on DMO day?
No way.
Let it be known, what is it? July 27th, every year.
It would be always DMO day, whether LPL's on or not. But LPL's on every day, so I don't know what I'm saying. Dredgeline hooks, Ike's in for the flank. This could be it. On top of Twyla, he's knocked up again, and Zika gets Yui. Slicing Maelstrom into the back line, but he's alone. Chalitza will go golden while Ike's has kept time. DMO haven't found their first kill of this fight, and Ike survives. Now forward they go with iBoy at the helm. Twyla slowed down, Shubin the same. Flashes everywhere. Scatter the Weak, great. But doesn't kill until the Q gets Zika. Stormbringer comes down once again. Excuse me, the Sky split up, but teleport being used. And Vici want to end it here in under 28 minutes. Xiao Peng trying to defend. Flash away. Twyla surviving for now with a dredge line. Scatter the Weak, great. But he finally gets locked down. That Sky Splitter returns. And with a minion wave here and the death timers, this could maybe be it. 10 seconds for Chalitza. Can DMO stop the end?
No.
Yui the target, and
No.
he's dead. And you know what? Vici maybe should have won this 5 minutes ago, but DMO put up a fight, and on DMO day, you don't mess with them unless you're Vici. You 2-0 them.
I mean, overall, Vici still won in 28 minutes, so, you know, not that bad.
It's a big butt, though.
I mean, that's not bad, actually, at all. So
It's
there
great.
should be, it's not that bad. It's awesome.
But there's a but.
Yes, there's a but. You made this weird. point is, Ike's played well. Ike's ulted